All right, guys, let's go ahead and look at our do now. Today, what I had you do is look at this graph and name the coordinates. So before we go through and name all of these, what are some of the struggles that you guys encountered while naming these? What do you think was the most difficult part? Or did y'all get it? Or did y'all just totally forget everything from last week?
Refresh my memory.
But I
mean, you got the notes right there too.
Right.
But, I don't think it was really no big struggle. I mean,
okay, good.
Basically, the negative and the positive. And lining it up with the point.
Right.
You know.
Right. So good. Is that kind of same story for everybody? You guys feel okay about it?
I think I did it right.
Okay.
Just seeing it like. I don't know if I'm on the same page.
That's all right. Let's look at them. So I gave you an example coordinate for point E. Is right here. So just in case you did forget which axis to look at for which part of the coordinate, I gave you this as a reference point. So it looks like the first value is -2. Now is that going to be the x value or the y value? X. Good. So I see E's right here, and I go over 1, -1, -2. That's where it lines up with. So we got that. And then it says E is -3 for the y-axis. So if you look at where E is, it lines up with -1, 2, -3 right here on the y-axis. So there's the refresher. Let's go ahead and look at point A. Yes.
Okay, what was the answer for E?
For E, this is the answer. I gave you this answer.
Okay, so -2, -3. Okay, you said Y.
Y?
-2?
Yes. So your -2 is your x value, and your -3 is your y value.
How she got the red and the blue, so
yes.
Easier with the color pencil or whatever.
Yeah, guys, I want to remind you, I have tons of markers and colored pens and stuff over there in that bin. Use them if they help. I personally think colors help. They make a world of difference to me. So here, let's look at these together. Let's look at point A. Point A is right up here. Are we going to write the x value first or the y value? The x value. So what is A's x value? 2. 1, 2. That's where it lines up. So I'm going to write 2 for my x. You guys get that so far?
Yeah.
Good. And what's my y value for A? 4. Good. Good. Okay, let's look at B. What should I write in my coordinate for B? +4. Good. That's my x. And it looks like it lines up with -1 on the y. Perfect. You guys get that one too? Awesome. Okay, let's look at C. Looks like C is right here. What's our x and y going to be? 1 for x. And how about y?
1.
Also 1. Very good. Okay, how about point D right here? What's our x?
-3.
Yes, -3. How about our y? 2. Perfect. You guys are on it. How about F down here? What's our x? Perfect. 2's our x. How about our y? -5. And last one, G, all the way up here. -5 for our x. Perfect. And 4 for the y. Awesome. Did you guys get all those?
Yeah.
Good. Oh, that is wonderful. That is so good. If y'all got this, rest of the day is going to be a piece of cake. All right, guys. So that's our do now. Let's talk about what we're going to do today. So we just did a little review plotting coordinates on a graph. How you guys feel about that? Give me like a percentage, how confident you are on plotting points.
Like what we just did?
What we just did.
I feel 100%.
100%? Okay, I will take that. 75, I'll take that too. I will take that.
But is there a way we can have some practice?
Yes, I can absolutely give you some practice on this. 100% I can do that. Let's talk about what we are going to do today. So, we just did a little review on plotting coordinates, naming them. On your final, the questions that you have regarding points like this, it's going to look exactly like what we just did for our do now. So if you can do this, you got that down. So today we are going to introduce something a little different. We're going to talk about graphing a line. Graphing a line. It sounds a little scary, but it's really not so bad. You're going to notice we've got a poster up there. It says Line Equation Road. It's a white poster with a yellow title. And the first thing you'll see on there is what says slope-intercept form. That is an equation of a line. So I'm going to teach you about that today a little bit. We have that in the form y equals mx plus b. Sounds scary, but you guys are so smart. You'll know how to do it so quickly. And you're going to feel like $100, $100 million, because I know you'll be able to do it easy. Okay, so we're going to practice that today. What I would like you all to do is, if you do not have any graph paper, go ahead and grab some. It's the right side underneath where you turn in all your papers. There's a whole bunch of graph paper. You can absolutely use what I already gave you, yes. Or yeah, if you guys want the, I think I've got more copies of that square graph paper I made. Let's see. Yeah, here's a bunch of, if you want some that already have like squares made out, I'll put them right here. And you know what, I'll grab one of those too, so your notes match mine.
Go ahead. The 22nd, I go back.
The 22nd?
Yeah, what, November?
November?
No, this month.
Okay.
My birthday's November, so I'm so excited.
Oh.
Next month. Take it off.
All right, guys. So once you've got your graph paper, the first thing I want you to do is on the first square that you have free, let's go ahead and draw our y-axis and our x-axis. If you want it to be more accurate, you could use a ruler. I'm not, just because I'm going a little quickly here. So it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, just make sure that you've got a line going up and down and then a line going left to right. Now once you have those two axes drawn, I need you to label them. So right beside the x-axis that goes left to right, I always draw a red X. And on top of the y-axis, I always draw a blue Y, just so I don't get them mixed up. Once you've got those drawn and labeled, go ahead and start adding some little tick marks to your graph so that we have a little reference for measuring. I'm just going to mark all of these little tick marks here. Okay. Now at the top of your paper, excuse me, I want you to write out the slope-intercept formula equation, which is y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what each of these letters mean. Y equals mx plus b. I'll give you a second to get caught up. Just look up at me and tell me that you're ready. Okay. Give you just a minute. Okay. All right, guys. If you are ready, let's go ahead and look at this slope formula. If you have not written it out yet, go ahead and do that now. Y equals mx plus b. So the only two letters that we need to know about and be able to identify are the M and the B. Now, if you like to do your colors the same way as me for consistency, I always make my M purple and my B orange. I couldn't tell you why, it's just what I do. I'm going to tell you what each of these mean. Okay, so whenever we are graphing a line in slope-intercept form and y equals mx plus b, there are two key items that you will need every time. The first one is your M, and the M stands for slope. Have you guys ever heard of slope when it comes to math? So some yes, some no. Okay, well, good deal. We'll talk about it. Outside of math, what do you think, in what context do you hear the word slope used? What does that mean?
When you go down the mountain.
Yeah, it's like a hill or up or down hill. So in a line in math, it means the exact same thing. Your slope is just how steep your line is going to be. So we'll talk a little more about that in a minute. Now your B is your y-intercept. You guys remember talking about intercepts last time? Can any of you remind me what that means, what y-intercept means? You're on the right path. You're on the right path.
Is it like coming up to the same number?
Kind of coming up to the same number. So I'm going to give you guys a little refresher here. The y-intercept is just where your line touches the y-axis. It's where it touches the y-axis. So I'm going to give you a line, and I want you to copy it down pretty exactly, and we're going to talk about what that equation would look like. So let's start with a point. Let's do +2 on the y-axis. So since this is where it's touching the y-axis, this will be our y-intercept. And let's see. Let's do a second point at +3 on the x-axis right here. Okay, once you have those 2 points drawn, let's get out our rulers and connect the dots, create a straight line between those two coordinates. So your first point is at y is +2. Your second point is at x is in +3. So it'll look just like this. And anytime you draw a line, it's super important to put arrows on both ends. Those arrows tell us that this line goes on and on forever and it never ends. It's an infinite line. Okay. So once you've got that line drawn, I'm going to give you what the equation of this line would be, and we'll talk about it. So first of all, we know that our y-intercept is 2. That's just where my line is touching the y-axis. Can you guys all see how that would make our y-intercept 2? So since our y-intercept is 2, we know that in our equation, b is the y-intercept. So I've already got one number figured out. Y equals mx plus, we just found out that our y-intercept, our b, is 2. We've got 1 point already. I'm going to circle that with the same color so that we can recognize where that came from. All right, everybody that far so far to that point? Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is slope. So the slope, like I said before, is just how steep your line is. So the way that we count that is with, we call it a little, it's like a little formula for slope. And I'll have you write this over to the side over here. I'm going to make an arrow from slope, and I'm going to write rise over, with like a fraction bar, rise over run. So this is how we count slope. And I'm going to tell you what that means. So we've got 2 different directions to go in when we're graphing something. We can go up and down on the y-axis, or we can go left to right on the x-axis. So to find our slope, we're going to start with our rise, which is how far up or down we go. And then we're going to do our run, which is how far left or right. So I'm going to start, I'm going to zoom in a little on here so you can see real close what I'm doing. To find our slope, we're looking at the difference between these 2 points. It's always going to be the 2 points that are specifically laid out for you. So first, I'm going to see what the difference is between the height or the rise of this first point and my second point. So if I were to draw a little line right here, this point to this point, we have 1, 2. You guys see how there's 2 points in between here? Our rise is going to be 2. And now from here over to the second point again, our run, it's just the distance left to right instead. That run is going to be 3. Okay, you guys see that so far? Our rise from the first point to the second was 2. The run from the first to the second was 3. So the only thing that we need to know now is whether this is going to be a positive slope or a negative slope. So to give you a little guide on that, we always read things from left to right. Is this slope going downwards or upwards?
Going down.
It's going downwards. So anytime a slope of a line is pointing down, whenever those values are decreasing, that means we have a negative slope. So we've got a negative slope here. And we're going to use our rise over run. So if my rise is 2 and my run is 3, that would mean that my slope, or M, I've got a rise of, it's going to be negative because it's pointing down, 2 over 3. So now I have a value for M in my equation. You guys see that? Okay, so here's what my final equation is going to look like. It would be y equals mx, so my m is negative 2/3, plus b, which we found out earlier, my b is 2. So here's my equation. Now I want to reassure you guys, I'm actually not going to be asking you to write out this equation from a line. I'm not asking you to do that. That's an Algebra 1 concept. I just wanted to walk you through this process so you could kind of discover where these numbers do come from. All that I'm going to have you guys do is be able to look at an equation and tell me, this is the slope, this is the y-intercept. That's all we're doing. We're just identifying my slope is negative 2/3, my y-intercept is 2. But this is what that line looks like. I mean, if you can pull out this equation, then you're ahead of the game, for sure. This is Algebra 1 concept. But if you guys can do that, you're in good shape. So, let's look at another equation. If it's not clicking in your brain yet, don't worry. We're going to do a bunch of practice till it does. Uh-huh.
Okay. I know you said that run is the -2.
Yes, the rise -2,
Yeah.
the run +3.
So we should, because I've been, even though the negative's over here, it's still.
Yes,
Because we're doing slope, because I'm confused.
Yeah.
I got it in my head, positive, negatives over here, positives over here. But
Yes.
But you said it was because it's coming down.
Yes,
It's what
yes.
makes it change to that.
Absolutely. So the slope actually has nothing to do with where it lands on the x-axis, the y-axis. This slope would still be negative 2/3, even if it was all the way over here, even if it was all the way over here. The slope just tells us how steep it is and whether it's going steep down or steep up. All right? So let's do a couple more examples and just get this in our brains. Let's go backwards. Let's start from an equation. Let's say I give you y equals 3/4 x plus 1. So first of all, which number in this equation is my y-intercept, my b?
Your 3 to,
So look up at your key. We've got slope for m, y-intercept for b. Which number is my b, my y-intercept?
You have another ruler?
Yes, up here at the front.
Okay.
1, yes. So at the end of your equation, whenever you see plus a number or minus a number, that is always your y-intercept. That's always going to tell you where your line touches on the y-axis. So here's our y-intercept. And what would our slope be? 3/4, that's our slope. Very good. That's our slope. Okay, so we have our y-intercept and we have our slope. So let's draw a graph, our x and y axis, and I'm going to show you how we would graph this. This time I will use a ruler. Alright. And while I'm drawing this, I'm going to give you guys a little peek into my brain. So I was thinking about the way that we've been doing our notes, and I really liked last week whenever I gave those guided notes, but I noticed that whenever I have you guys write the notes out, I feel like you guys catch on to it a little quicker. I feel like it definitely helps to have that kind of mind to hand connection. Something about writing it out yourself helps it stick a little better. So moving forward, I'm happy to have those do nows and exit tickets printed, but I do see a pretty big benefit in having you guys write the notes along with me.
I would home and rewrote it.
That's good, good. Rewriting it is one of the best ways to
Your mom
study.
said, why would you do that? You have the cheat sheet right there. That's not.
No, it makes it stick in your brain better. Whenever I was in high school, that was the only way I knew how to study, is I would go through my notes and I would just rewrite them all.
My brother, he said, I don't know this division thing.
Oh, yeah?
That. He was doing it for work, and I said, just do it. Hand it over.
Okay guys, let's look at this equation now. We have y equals 3/4 x plus 1. So the first thing we want to look at is our y-intercept. What's our y-intercept again, guys? 1. So where am I going to put my first point? It's going to go on the y-axis. I've got plus 1.
On the right-hand side, the very first one.
Right here?
Thank you.
Right here?
Yeah.
So this is the x-axis. The y-intercept tells us something on the y. Ah, yeah. We're going to put our first point right here on the y-axis at 1. So our y-intercept is 1.
That's what I was trying to say.
I get you. I get you. Perfect. Okay. So now that we have our first point, we can use our slope to find our second point. If our slope is 3 over 4, and slope is the same thing as rise over run, what's our rise?
3.
Yes, 3. So I'm going to label that. I'm going to put 3 is my rise. And what's my run? 4. Perfect. So here's how we're going to count that on the graph. Since it's positive 3 over 4, we're going to start from our y-intercept at 1, and I'm going to count my rise first. I'll go up 1, 2, 3. There's my rise. You guys see that?
When you counted from the point, right?
We counted from our point that we made. Don't start from 0. Count from the first point at the y-intercept. Okay, and our run is 4. So we've done our rise. Once we're at the top of our rise, we're going to go over 4 for our run. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our run. Okay, and once we've done our rise and our run, we can make a second point. The second point is right at the end of our run. You see that right here? Okay. While you guys are getting caught up, are there any questions so far? Anything that we're a little confused about?
The top number is always going to be the rise.
Yes, always, always, always.
Top number always be the rise.
Yes, that will never change. Okay, so once we've got our 2 points, we're just going to connect the dots. And you guys know how to graph a line now.
Are we doing this on the test?
On the final, this will be a bonus question. Just because we're introducing it so late in the game. So as much as I would love for y'all to know how to do this, it'll be something that we cover heavily in Algebra 1. I mostly just want to introduce you guys to it now.
Yeah, I wish we could take like all the classes.
I know it. Okay, guys, there's our line. Not so bad. There's our line. Okay, before we do another example, do we have any questions about this process?
This is fun.
Good. I know I always like when we get to the part of math where you're drawing. I think it makes it fun.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man,
I love it. I love it. Okay, guys, if we're feeling good about that, can we go ahead and do another example? Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to move down to this part of my paper, and I'm going to give you another equation. This one is going to be y equals 1/2 x minus 1. So once you've gotten that written down, we're going to draw our x and y axes. Oh my goodness, I really need to use a ruler. I'm making my lines so bad. Okay, and we'll put some tick marks on there. Okay, and once you've got your graph drawn, do not forget to label your x-axis and your y-axis. Doesn't matter how good you are at math. Doesn't matter if you're teaching it. You're gonna get them mixed up. That was something I always struggled with in high school, is my x and y axes. For some reason, I just mixed them up in my brain. Okay, guys. Once you are to that point and you've got your equation written down, y equals 1/2 x minus 1, and you've got your graph drawn, let's talk about the parts of this equation. So you guys take your time. I'll give you a second to get caught up. Okay. First of all, what is our y-intercept going to be? Ooh, I hear 1, I hear -1. So let's look back to this one. Our y-intercept was +1 when it was +1. So since we have a -1, it is going to be -1. So we want to pay attention to whether we have a plus or a minus for our y-intercept. So I'm going to label that y-intercept, and I'm just going to abbreviate that to INT for intercept. So where's our first point going to go?
Negative.
Yeah, -1 on the y-axis. So let's draw a point right here at -1 on the y-axis. Okay, once you've got that first point, let's look at our next part of our equation. What's our slope? 1/2. Good. So we're going to circle this, and if slope is rise over run, and our slope here is 1/2, what's our rise and our run going to be? Rise is on top, run, yeah, my rise is going to be 1, my run is going to be 2. So now that we know which numbers are rise, which numbers are run, we can start with this first point we made at y is -1, that y-intercept, and let's begin with our rise. So if our rise is 1, how many points am I going to go up? 1. Good. So here's where I'm going up to. I'm going to label this. Rise is 1. So I'm going up to 0 on the y-axis here. And what's my run? 2. So I'm going to start from where I just ended and go over 1, 2. My run is 2. So where's my second point going to go? Say that again?
Right there where the 2 is?
Yes, right there on the x-axis at 2. You guys see that? Okay, all you got to do now is connect the dots. That's it. You drew another line. It's not so bad once we just get used to identifying those parts and figuring out where to put them. There you go. That's all right. I'm not expecting y'all to be artists.
I'm trying to see the line. Back at old glasses.
All right. You guys got any questions for this one? We feeling okay so far? Okay. And if at any point you're feeling totally lost and don't even know what to ask, tell me that too. We can start over and make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. We got that. You guys ready for one more? Okay. Let's try one with a negative slope. How about y equals -3/4 x plus 3. And I'm going to draw my x and y axes again. This time I'll use a ruler. My tick marks. Okay. And then we're going to label our x-axis and our y-axis. And I'll give you guys a minute to get caught up. Just let me know when you're ready. Okay. Everybody got your equation written down, or do we need another minute? We ready? All right. Okay, first thing, what's our y-intercept?
3.
3. Good. So I'm going to circle it and I'm going to label it.
This is what we do on the test too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And we are actually not going to have a test over just specifically this. I'm just going to put 1 or 2 questions about this on your final.
Right.
And
so that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
We gotta still circle on our
Yes.
finals and stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. And what's our slope?
-3.
Yeah, -3/4. So that's going to make our rise and run look a little different. Let's go ahead and start with our y-intercept. Where's our first point going to be on the graph? Oh.
3.
Ah, that's okay. So we start with our y-intercept. If it's a plus, we go up. If it's a minus, we go down. So since it's +3, we'll go up 1, 2, 3 on the y-axis. There's our first point. Okay. Once you've got that first point plotted, now it's time to take a look at our slope. So I'm going to write this out to the side here. I've got -3/4. What's my rise? -3. So normally with rise, whatever that number is, we go up that many spaces. So what do you think we're going to do with rise whenever it's negative?
Go down.
We're going to go down instead. That's it. And then what's our run? 4. Perfect. So we're going to start from our y-intercept. Don't start from 0. Start from our y-intercept and let's count our rise. So we'll go down how many? 3. So I'm going to start here and go 1, 2, 3. There's my rise. -3. And for my run, remember you start just where you left off on the rise, which is right here at the point 0 on the x and 0 on the y. And we're going to go over how many? 4. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my run. Okay, so where's my second point go? Right at x = 4. right where we ended our slope. And once you've done that, you just connect the dots. That's it. Not so bad, not so bad.
And once again, on the final with the thing, we still like in the box, right? The rise and the one and the.
Yes, so I can actually show you. No, I'll be very specific about what I want. I get it. I totally get it. I wouldn't count off for something silly like labeling wrong. I've got your final right here. Let me look at it.
Just trying to make sure this is the way it is.
So, here's what will happen on your final. What you'll be given, and I'm going to cover up the equations, so.
Well, we won't be at 170.
So this is going to be bonus points. See this? This is literally a page from your final. You're going to be graphing a line. I'll give you an equation right here, and then it'll say slope, so you'll just tell me what it is. Y-intercept, you tell me what it is, and then you graph it. And for each line that you do those 3 things correctly, you get 3 bonus points. So I'm not going to make it too tough on you guys. You guys can do this.
Now you said this was a little bit of like algebra too? Right?
Yeah. This is pre-algebra, so I'm prepping you guys.
Or algebra.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's another example. So here's one that isn't bonus. It's just like questions I'm going to have you do. I'll have you identify the slope and the y-intercept of an equation I give you. So that's one question, and then another one is where you'll just have to name the points. So this is all that we're going to see on the final of this subject, or of this topic. So hopefully that gives you a little peace of mind there. I'm not going to ask you to do too much crazy stuff. Okay. How we feel about that, graphing a line? Feeling okay? How about we do one more together, and then I'm going to have you try one by yourself and see how well we do without guidance. For this next one, I'm going to have you create a little guide with me so that if you get to that point and your mind goes blank, you forget what to do first, second, third, I'm going to give you those steps to have right in front of you. So if you need another clean sheet of paper, you're welcome to grab one up at the front. But we're going to start again. Let's go ahead and draw our X and Y axis. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. So above your graph that we drew, I'm going to have you title it, How to Graph a Line. That way, if you forget, you can look at this paper and see how to do it. How to graph a line, and then I'm going to write the slope-intercept form right next to it, y equals mx plus b. So let's give you a line as an example. How about y equals -2/3 x plus 2. Okay. All right. So whenever you are given an equation in slope-intercept form, that's y equals mx plus b, the first step is to graph the y-intercept. So we're going to write that for step 1. Graph the y-intercept. And in parentheses, I'll put B. And maybe next to that, I'll put on the y-axis. So let's go ahead and do step 1. I'll give you guys a second to write that. So as you guys write, first of all, for this equation I gave you, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. What is our y-intercept? 2. Good. So I'm going to circle it just so I can keep track. And for my first step, it says I need to graph that y-intercept on the y-axis. Where is that going to go?
Straight up.
Yes, straight up to 2 on the y-axis. There we go. Step 1 is done. And I'm going to circle that in orange just so y'all can see where it came from. So once we've used our y-intercept, we've got a starting point for our line. Step 2 is going to be to use the slope to find a second point. So use the slope, or m, or rise over run, to find a second point. And once you've got that written down and you're ready to move on, somebody tell me, what is our slope?
Our slope will be -2.
Good. Not just -2.
Negative 2 over 3.
Yes, -2/3. This is our slope. So we need to figure out how many spaces we go up or down, and then how many spaces we go left to right to find our second point. So we remember that slope is rise over run. Let's identify our rise and our run. What's our rise? -2. Good. And what's our run? 3. Perfect. -2 and 3. So whenever we use slope to find our second point, what's our starting point? Where do we start from when we're counting slope? Yeah, at that y-intercept, the +2 that we found. So if my rise is -2, am I going to go up 2 or down 2? Down 2. Good. So here's 1, 2. I'll label that my rise. -2. And you guys won't have to, label rise and run if you don't want to. I'm just showing it to you visually, so if you miss me writing something, you can see what it was. Now that we've done our rise, what comes next? Yeah, our run, which is 3. So I start right here where I ended, and I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, right there. And there's our second point. So, what's left to do to draw this line?
Put that on.
Connect the dots. That's it. You just plot 2 points and connect the dots. Not so bad, guys. Perfect. All right, everybody got that? Any questions about this? Okay, well, good deal. So I'm going to give you one to try on your own. I would like you to graph the line of y equals 3 over 4 x minus 2. I want you to graph that line. I'm going to pause the video and give you guys a little bit of time to do that. I'll set a little timer. Okay, guys, let me draw my x and y axis real quick. And I'll get to where you are. While I'm drawing this, what's the first thing that you guys did here to figure out where to graph your line?
Circle the numbers, the minus 2, start with a minus 2.
Yeah, circle the minus 2. So what is this minus 2 going to tell us?
Y-intercept.
Yes, it's the y-intercept. So now that we know our y-intercept is -2, where does our first point go?
Down to the -2.
Yes.
Well, we go count down.
On the y-axis, we go down -1, -2.
Yeah.
Your first point is at -2 on the y-axis. Did you guys all get that far?
No.
No.
Did you put it at +2?
Yeah.
I get you, girl. No big deal. Go ahead and correct that and we'll be on our way. Okay, so you guys used the y-intercept to find your first point. What did you guys do next?
Count that 3 for the slope.
Yes, so 3 is where you went up for the slope. So I'm going to assume 3 is our rise.
Right, yeah.
And what next?
4 is the run.
4 is the run. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. You went up 3, so where did you start counting from? The point or from 0? From the point, good. So we count up 1, 2, 3 for our rise. And how many was our run? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So here's our second point. Right there. All right, what'd you do next?
Draw a line.
Just draw the line, connect the dots. Great job, guys.
So the dots are always going to be connected.
Always.
Okay.
Always, always. This is just how we graph a line. We make 2 points and we connect them. Good job. Okay, guys, that is very, very good. How do we feel about that right now? Confidence level?
Not 100%.
Not 100%. That's all right. This is the first day we've done this, and y'all are really doing great. Remember, these will be bonus questions, so as long as you're able to remember your y-intercept is your b, that last number on your equation, and the slope is the number next to x. Those are the 2 big important parts that I want you guys to know. Being able to graph it, though, you're ahead of the game if you can do that. So it is 10:17. I'm thinking that since it is finals week, I really don't want to burden you guys with any more required work. So if you did that exit ticket on Thursday, awesome. I'll put it in as bonus points. But I'm not going to do any exit tickets this week. Instead, I'm working on it right here. I'm making you some practice, and I'm going to go make copies of it right now.
I
And if you want it, come see me out there. I'll give it to you to practice, but I'm not gonna grade anything else this week. I don't wanna put any extra stress on you, okay?
So we had an extra ticket for Thursday?
Not anymore. I'm not
Oh,
taking it.
okay.
I just don't
I
think
thought
that
we
we need
were
any
going back
extras.
Tuesday.
All good.
And I thought you said you was gonna come back today and you thought it was too much, we didn't have. to
Yes.
come back in.
I have decided,
She figured it out before we left.
yeah,
Yeah.
she did. All good. Okay, I'm gonna end that recording.